Hello and welcome back everyone to this weekly update on the financial markets. I will cover with you today my four main assets: the S&P 500 index, US oil, gold and Bitcoin against the US dollar. What will follow afterwards are my single stock watch list with my active trades and trades I plan to take in the future. We will have mainly a look at the weekly, daily and 4-hour time frame. So let's start directly in with the weekly time frame and the S&P 500 index. On a weekly time frame, you can see that the S&P 500 index is still rising and in a nice uptrend. At the moment, MACD is sideways consolidating, a little bit of a declining. Then we see with price, but sideways consolidation on a high time frame, trying to get above the 7,000 point mark in the index ain't a negative thing so far. So let's drop down to the daily time frame. Here you can see a trade that would be possible. We see a couple of attempts to get above the $7,000 mark here in the index, and once this breakout would be happening, that would be a strong sign that we will continue higher. But also here we have a lot of pressure on the seller side, where sellers tried to get below the 6,780 mark, and that could also happen too. So if we break lower here, then we'll probably continue lower by a bit and see a huger corrective move before continuation of the overall existing uptrend. But I like to place myself with the trend, so let's switch to an ETF that's tradable above with my brokerage account. Here you can see the S&P 500 ETF. We have here also this sideways consolidation inside this range, and I decided to go long in this ETF once we see a significant break above the prior highs here and above the $7,000 mark. Stop loss would be placed below the sideways consolidation, risking 1% of my account balance like usual, and I would take my first profits from the table, take the trade risk free once I make my risk as profit. Back to the original chart. That's the view on the daily, and if we drop one time from lower to the 4 time frame, you can see it in more detail. The moving averages are at the moment mainly the 200 moving average is the main moving average is at the moment still support, holding well, and I think once that holds as support, we get above the prior highs, then also the shorter term moving averages get support for price. That would be a bullish outlook. That's all for the S&P 500 index. Let's continue with energy and US oil. US oil at the weekly time frame, we can see in red solid downtrend line that got broken in the year 2021 to the upper side, and since then we are moving into a corrective move on the weekly. You could argue to see an A, B, C pattern. Point C at the moment the lowest point of the complete movement, and from there on we see short term some bullish price action. So let's drop into the daily time frame for more details. Here you can see that we have seen a double bottom scenario with a bullish MACD divergence to price. We have seen the downtrend broken to the upside and forming from lower lows and lower highs to higher highs and higher lows. So from a downtrend to an uptrend, and I said that it would be possible to get here along with the stop loss below the last swing low. If you would have taken the trade, you could have already sold 50% of the position and take the trade risk free. The rest we will hopefully let run higher. At the moment, price got support, but 200 moving average on the daily time frame, so not so bearish. And maybe we will make it through this weekly downtrend and start a new really heavy uptrend here, but we will see. At the moment, the main dominant trend is this downtrend, but we can short-term see an uptrend that could develop into a longer-term uptrend. But we will see. On the 4-hour time frame, there's not so much more to say. We have seen some sideways action here, no higher high, but also no lower low. So short-term in a sideways consolidation, breaking that to the upper side would be again bullish, breaking down would be bearish. But with this trade, I haven't taken it in my interactive brokers account. It was a virtual trade I was discussing with you in later or further episodes a couple of weeks ago, and that would be the way I would have traded it if I would have traded it. So far so well. Let's continue with gold. Gold on the weekly time frame, impressive movement after leaving that base behind. We have seen a nice uptrend, printing higher highs and higher lows on this weekly time frame, and so far that's still intact, not broken down, only higher highs and higher lows. We have seen here a massive red wick that was an acceleration to the upside above $5,600 per ounce, massive move, and of course that had to get corrected, but it's holding pretty well in my opinion at the moment, right at $5,000 per ounce. Not bad, holding better than I was expecting after such a huge move and correction. On the daily time frame, you can see also that all trend lines are still intact, not one is broken down, and we are at the moment sideways consolidating here a bit. From here on, everything is possible in my view. We can break below this secondary daily uptrend and make maybe a correction to here the $4,000 mark to this white solid daily uptrend line, maybe in a combination with this low here, or even higher with this daily support zone in combination with the daily uptrend. Also possible that we will consolidate here a bit before then continuing higher, because we are definitely in uptrend, so I would more like to bet on rising prices than on falling prices here. But at the moment, no trade for me in the pure gold asset. If we drop one time frame lower to the 4-hour time frame, you can see the sideways consolidation here, and that can evolve either to the upside or the downside. It's hard to say right now. If it's breaking to the upper side, you could think about a short-term long trade, but that's up to you, like every decision you do in your own portfolio. Gold looking good, long-term invested. I'm happy with that so far. Let's continue with Bitcoin. Bitcoin also starting out at the weekly time frame. We can see we have seen here a nice uptrending chart that lately broke down massively, taking out the last swing lows. So we went from an uptrend definitely into a downtrend. I was selling some of my speculative position right here after this flag pattern was breaking down. Was not the worst idea so far, and I reloaded in this massive sell-off on that 2nd of February. But small position, not everything, because I can think of a corrective move here and then a decline again, maybe all the way to this monthly uptrend line in combination with the 200 moving average on the weekly time frame. If we go back in time, you can see the 200 moving average on the weekly time frame was never the worst time to buy again some Bitcoin after a huge corrective move. So I will try to make this time again, because history oftentimes rhymes, and so the likelihood of being correct with that is pretty significant, and we are betting on a statistical advantage here. Of course, someday that can not work out, and you have also to be prepared for that. So don't risk more than you are willing to lose. That's, I think, a smart advice at any time. Yeah, currently we are at the prior all-time high, so that's also a pattern Bitcoin has tested a couple of times. Once we have made an all-time high, exceeded that, next cycle became all the way down and maybe a little bit lower than the prior all-time high. And why shouldn't that be the case here right now also. So here that's an interesting area for buying back some Bitcoin. And yeah, but I think we have seen a heavy sell-off, so probably maybe push back to the $80,000 level and then continuation once lower before then recovering and starting the next bullish cycle for Bitcoin. Now I have extrapolated the most on the weekly time frame, the big view on the daily time frame. You can see that the daily downtrend is still intact, printing lower lows and lower highs. We've seen a massive move here. We've seen a MACD cross to the upper side. That speaks for some movement to the upside again, maybe testing this low here from the downside as resistance then in combination with the daily downtrend line, and from there on decline maybe lower. Maybe we'll see something like this, I could imagine, before then finding the real low and continuing from there on higher. That's the idea. On the forward time frame, there's not really much more to say, except that we are at the moment sideways consolidating here a bit, and I think the next move is probably to the upper side, higher, maybe retesting here the 12 moving average on the forward time frame would be aligning with the levels I was discussing on the higher time frames as well. That's the plan for Bitcoin. Let's continue with the single stocks watch list, and first JBL. JBL on the daily time frame, nice uptrending stock, making new all-time highs despite the fact that the S&P 500 index and the Nasdaq are not making new all-time highs right now, but more are sideways consolidating. We left already behind the sideways consolidation by JBL, trending higher highs followed by higher lows, so an intact uptrend. And I could imagine that once the indices are also pulling up to the upper side out of their sideways consolidation, that JBL would also perform better after that. And yeah, we are neared already my first take profit target, where I would take 50% of the positions from the table to take the trade risk free with that. Then I would have made my risk as reward, and the rest I would like to trade higher and trade my stop loss with price action levels also higher and see how far this stock can go. Yeah, that's at the moment the plan. I hope that next week we'll see the push into my take profit target. We haven't been far away from that lately, but it was close, but it wasn't enough. Okay, let's continue with the uranium ETF. The uranium ETF on the daily time frame, we can see after getting out of a sideways consolidation, we have been broken out in an uptrend marked by this daily white solid uptrend line. We've seen a high, a corrective move, the break of the short-term downtrend with making a higher low and also a higher high. That was the moment I was getting long here, was riding that to the upper side and slightly below the prior all-time high. At a 1-to-1 risk-reward ratio, I was selling 50% of the position, so this trade is now risk-free. Even if we would get again to my stop loss level here, I wouldn't have made any money on the trade, but also wouldn't have lost anything. Yeah, we have here the first corrective move after this nice uptrend, stopping here at this daily support zone, and hopefully we will find a bottom soon and continue higher from there on. Next on the list, Novo Nordisk. Novo Nordisk on the daily time frame, you can see in the past it was a well-performing stock, and we have seen 80% decline, an intact orange weekly downtrend line that got broken with a MACD divergence to the upper side. And after 4 hour sideways consolidation and breaking that to the upper side, I decided to get a long here in Novo with the stop loss below the low of the complete movement. That was holding even after bad numbers from the CEO, where the stock was punished for. And yeah, we have nearly seen my stop loss getting hit, but recovered to the baseline here, to this weekly support zone, and there we are at the moment holding, but yeah, still in a massive loss position here with this trade, and it's uncertain if we get higher from here on again or decline lower. So far the downtrend is still broken, we haven't seen a lower low, so I keep that position and hope for the best. The risk is calculated in, so if I lose it, it's all fine. But yeah, it's a good company fundamentally, so if we see really here the switch from a downtrend to an uptrend, I think there's a lot of potential in this stock. Next, Elevance Health. Elevance Health on the long term, nice uptrending healthcare stock. Lately I've seen a huge decline all the way back down to this monthly red uptrend line in combination with this weekly support zone. We've seen lower lows and lower highs, and then a change to higher highs and higher lows, and breaking above the 200 moving average and the latest daily support or resistance zone. Back then we have been breaking above that. I got long in the stock. We've seen a pullback, news driven, and we violated this daily short-term uptrend line to the downside, but we got bought back sharply directly, pulled back again, and got bought again. So at the moment, not the weakest signs in my view, even if we are underwater with the position right now, but similar to Novo Nordisk, I think here's a lot of music in the stock once we really make the turn from a downtrend to an uptrend here. We have seen the first signs, so that can continue to the upside if the conditions are bettering or stay the same. The only thing that is not allowed to happen is that it gets worse than now, then we will probably hit that stop loss, and then it's the case, I will lose 1% of my comp balance. That's fine and calculated. Let's continue with the European defense stock, Rolls-Royce. Rolls-Royce Holdings on the daily time frame is looking nice. We have an intact uptrend weekly and daily after a sideways consolidation or ABC correction on the daily time frame at an all-time high level. I decided once we break that to the upper side, I want to get long, and I did that. Stop loss was placed below point B of the ABC pattern and this daily downtrend line. And yeah, so far we have seen a nice push into the green area of my trade, then the first pullback, bottom formation was building, and now we're continuing higher again into the green zone, and MACD crossed on the daily bullish to the upper side on this day. I hope that continues, and we will soon reach my first take profit area where I take the risk from the table with that position, right rest higher to write my stop loss with price higher. That's looking good, that stock. Yeah, sadly I had a similar one in America that wasn't going so well. I'm talking from Heiko Corporation. That's the next one on the list. Heiko Corporation on a daily time frame, nice uptrend like you can see here. One moving average on the daily is rising. We had a sideways consolidation, that one got broken to the upper side. I decided to get long. A stop loss was placed below the last swing low inside the midpoint of the range. We have seen nice bullish price action breaking out, and then the first corrective move went way further than expected and was even dipping below this daily uptrend line and the last swing low, taking me out of my position with 1% at loss with this trade. That's pretty sad because the trade itself looks good, still good, and it would be an opportunity to get back into this stock because we have seen a pullback to the 200 moving average to this daily uptrend line, slightly below, dip below that with a wick. That can happen, but now we are seeing MACD cross occurring soon probably. We're seeing already price rise again, and once we make it above this daily resistance zone that here was or should have been support, that would be again pretty bullish for the stock and would speak for continuation of the overall uptrend. You could think about getting long here again, give it a second chance. I'm thinking for myself about that too. Yeah, but the quarterly results are not so far away, so maybe waiting for that day if bullish or bearish, depending what the CEO will have to say to the numbers, etc. Yeah, that's all I have for the Heiko Corporation. Let's continue with the German DAX and hit the fitting ETF for that. The German DAX ETF is in a nice long-term uptrend here, and the major daily moving averages are all coming together to support the current price action from below. We have seen sideways consolidation, a breakout, a corrective move to this breakout level. We have seen a bottom formation building, and now it seems like we'll continue higher. MACD already crossed to the upper side on a daily time frame, all not bearish, and yeah, I hope they will continue soon higher into the direction of my first take profit target to take a trade, also here risk free. We have to let it develop and check that every week. Next, Comfort Systems USA. Comfort Systems USA, nice long-term uptrend, a daily uptrend also intact after sideways consolidation, with still making higher lows. Once that was breaking to the upside, I decided to get long in this stock. Stop loss was placed below the significant last low and the daily uptrend line. That was also holding and surviving the first pullback. And lately we have seen my first take profit target getting hit, and I was selling 50% of the position. The trade is now risk free, even if we should reverse fall below this daily uptrend and take out my stop loss here. I'm waiting now for a next sideways consolidation similar to that one maybe, or a significant corrective move, and then afterwards a push higher to trail my stop loss higher below that significant line in the sand, to get out once the trend really changes from an uptrend to a downtrend. And hopefully till then we have seen significant moves and a lot of profit that has accumulated. That's the plan. Let's continue with Fastenal. Fastenal company on the daily time frame, also nice uptrending stock here. All major uptrends are intact. We had a short-term daily downtrend line. That one got also resolved to the upper side. One moving average was left behind, and we have seen short-term change from a downtrend to an uptrend. And once we broke also then above this downtrend, I entered a long position with a stop loss below a significant swing low here, the daily support zone, and yeah, if price develops further also below this weekly uptrend line. So pretty conservative in my view. Even if we get a huge pullback, that shouldn't be resolving in a stop loss here, except we really break this uptrend to the downside, and then I want to get out of the trade. For that, this stop loss is placed there. We are at the moment seeing higher highs followed by higher lows. The latest higher low was pulling into my entry level back, and I hope that we'll see here also bottom formation and a continuation higher. The first take profit target is placed at the all-time high, the last all-time high, and from there on I would take the trade then risk-free with selling 50% of the position and ride the rest higher. Then an open order in Aflac Corporation. Nice uptrend at Afla Corporation on the daily time frame. We can see the intact weekly uptrend, then at an all-time high level, some sideways consolidation, slightly declining price channel, seeing that price channel broken to the upside with a lot of more sideways consolidation, and finally the push higher to a new all-time high with a lot of momentum, even if the numbers haven't been that great they published. That's a strong sign. That stock was also rising while the broad market was falling. So yeah, I have seen that as a positive thing. And every time we get above levels that have been tested often and got rejected in the past, that's bullish once they break to the upside. I was not buying directly, I was waiting for a pullback to not buy when the stock was too hot. I think we are consolidating right now at this breakout level, and once we try the next attempt to get higher, get above the prior all-time high here, that would be a nice level for a breakout trade. Buying the stock, stop loss conservatively placed below the last sideways consolidation and the 200 moving average on the daily. So we get enough room of wiggle room here for this stock to develop. First profit target would be also here once I make my risk as profit and take the risk with that from the table. Let's continue with AutoZone. AutoZone Inc. on the daily time frame, you can see a long-lasting weekly uptrend line consistently climbing up the hill. Then we have seen a huge corrective move all the way back down to this weekly uptrend line, dipping slightly below that, but then getting directly off from this daily support zone, and now exceeding also the daily downtrend line with this flag pattern broken to the upside, exceeding the 200 moving average also to the upside. I decided to get long with the position, risking 1% of my capital. Stop loss placed below this flag pattern swing low and also below the recent swing lows here and the daily support zone. I'm speculating on rising prices from here on, and the first price target would be placed slightly below the prior all-time high, taking my risk from this trade from the table, and hopefully see new all-time highs the following year here. Yeah, of course, there's a risk involved. We can turn here and retest again this weekly uptrend. Then my stop loss is really placed tight. So it needs some luck that I'm not getting taken out if that happens. But it's looking pretty bullish. We got the MACD divergence pointing to the upside. So at the moment, confident with that trade here. Also, we have changed with this flag pattern from a downtrend to an uptrend. So yeah. Next and last on the list is Cure Mining, also an open order I have at the moment at my trading list. Cure Mining, I hope I pronounced that one well. On the daily time frame, you can see it's rising after a long sideways consolidation here, and also downtrend sideways consolidating. We've seen lately with rising metal prices because that's a silver and gold producer. We've seen a nice price development of that stock, and lately you could argue to see on the daily on cup and handle formation, and I'm pretty impressed how well metal prices still are performing after that huge run and selling pressure at the top. Gold still at $5,000 per ounce and silver around the $70-$75 range. If we see where these assets have traded 1 year ago, these producers here are printing money right now, and that's the reason why they're holding also so well. And there is soon upcoming on Wednesday the earnings and revenue report of this Cure Mining stock. So I placed it above the current swing high and this daily support and now resistance zone. So I think if the numbers occur and they are positive, price should rise above that level. I hopefully get executed on the trade, stop loss then placed below this swing low here, and then hopefully trade that one higher. That's the strategy for this stock right now. That was my decision to take that. Sometimes it's better to wait for the earnings report, but this time I'm speculating on a positive earnings report, and I will probably only get executed if this earnings report is positive. If it's too positive, we will jump probably above that level and I will not get executed. That's part of the game and can happen also. And if the earnings report is negative, we will fall directly lower and I'm not getting executed. Then that's a good thing that I'm not getting executed and I'm searching for another trading opportunity. Yeah, that's it's for now for the charts. Let's have a short look at my portfolio log. Yeah, welcome to my portfolio log v.2. Here you can see all my current trades and past trades. Like you can see, we have already lost 6 trades. That's the reason why the performance is 6% down. But we also have made partial wins, realizing at SPX, the uranium ETF, and yeah, I hopefully they will follow some along. Here in orange you can see the 3 open orders I have right now in FLAG, in S&P 500 index, and in the mining company here. And yeah, well, at the moment we have a risk of 700 euros in the portfolio, and if all trades are ordered getting filled, we would end up at 973, which roughly 10% of my account balance right now. And also I have $10,000 at capital here, and we would have then position size of 9,400 euros. So yeah, 100% we would be then invested. If I would invest more, I would have used some margin from my progress account, but that's not planned at the moment. And if we switch to statistics, yeah, you can see it's at the moment pretty negative because 6 lost trades. The partial wins are not counted in this statistic. They are all first counted once I realized some real profit here. And yeah, so far negative, but I hope that will change in the near future. This account runs now 1 month and 16 days, so there's more to come for that year. I hope you liked the content, got something out of it, maybe some trading setups you can analyze for yourself and decide for yourself if you're willing to take them. And yeah, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and drop a nice comment. Till next time, bye bye.